Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. Fitch is looking around like little space monsters, or maybe the elf on the shelf is about to attack. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about how it could be the coldest winter in the United States ever. A bunch of stories, but John, there's one in particular I want to start with because it kind of hits close to home in the fact that, you know, Pat Miletich and I have become really good friends over the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. He's over my house, 3 out of 4 weekends for fights. He was here this weekend.
I'm hoping me and Pat might be doing some work together, maybe on Red Voice Media here next year.
Yeah, well, I'm loving it because Red Voice Media is expanding in a direction that obviously I'm enthusiastic about, and it's talking to people. In my opinion, Pat's whole thing right now is being prepared.
Well, it's a really positive thing to see so many people stepping up to provide free speech platforms.
Listen, Ray, I need to get on the show. I've done a bunch of pre-records. I should text him after this, and maybe I'll get him on Wednesday before I take off for DC. But in particular, there's this story with Mike Jackson and Jake Shields. Jake Shields, by the way, is one of my favorite fighters that I think has been completely underrated and overlooked. If you weren't watching Strike Force like Jason Bermas was watching Strike Force back in the day when it was on Showtime, you really don't understand that Jake Shields, I mean, that fight with Dan Henderson, that's one of the grittiest fights ever. And for those that don't know, Dan Henderson has bombs in his hands. And throughout Jake's career, he's Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, trains with guys like the Diaz brothers, Melendez, from that part of California. And they used to call him pillow hands. But he was one of those guys that would just catch you maybe once or twice, be able to get the double leg, get on top of you, submit you, grind you. Very skilled. And the Dan Henderson fight, I mean, he gets literally knocked almost in a circle backwards. He gets knocked around quite a bit in that fight, overcomes, wins it. It's one of my favorite fights that nobody seems to know about. He's vocal on Twitter, but at the same time, I don't think he's saying anything out of line or crazy. And by the way,
nothing at all. Completely reasonable. I've been following a long time. I've known Jake for a very, very long time. We've trained together for a long time. We've competed against each other. We've had 2 grappling matches. We've had a MMA fight, 5-round. I defended my title against him at Madison Square Garden. Like we have history. We've trained together. I've met and talked to his father. I knew his father before his father passed. All around nice people. His brother too. Like, I've never had an issue with Jake or any of the people around him. He's a good person.
So Mike Jackson, for those that don't know, is a quote-unquote UFC fighter. But
and nobody knows. Nobody knows who he is.
Well, let's explain how
nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows. You're saying for those who don't know, that's everyone. That's everybody. The only thing the kid's ever done is he barely beat CM Punk. He barely beat him. It's the only thing he's ever done his entire life. It's the only thing he'll ever do.
So let's talk about that. So, this is where it gets into this cancel culture, politics, everybody's a racist, etc.
Yeah, you don't agree with me, you must be a racist.
Mike Jackson was essentially brought into the UFC because they thought CM Punk might have a chance at beating him. Now, it just so happens, John Fitch, guess who cornered and trained Mike Jackson for that fight?
Who?
Pat Miletich happened to do that.
Oh, wow.
So he had reached out to Pat. Pat did that. Pat got him beyond the CM Punk bar, and he was able to win and actually get a UFC contract. And through the luck of the draw, and especially in the fight before last where he was devastatingly knocked out, he was able to get a win through a technicality on a disqualification where he was just getting killed in the fight. Beyond that, during the January 6th event, Miletich met me out there. We again had become buddies. I said, I'm going to this. I'm going to go cover this. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. He goes out there. At the time, Pat is calling fights for the LFA. Now, he's the one that called me from the Capitol while I was still walking from the Ellipse up, and I was about to go home. I wasn't even going to go to the Capitol, John. I was on my way to my car with Dylan Avery, the man behind Loose Change, the original, and the guy that started it all, and we just happened to meet each other. Militich tells me what's going on. Dylan's getting text that somebody's been shot. Okay, now I have to go cover this. So Pat doesn't go inside, is essentially on the lawn. There's no footage of him attacking anybody, holding up anything racist. He wanted to be there to witness the event. And Joe Biggs, who is right now on trial for January 6th and will probably spend the rest of his life in prison with a group of others, comes up and takes a picture of Pat. So, side note quickly, I was also there in December to cover these Stop the Steal rallies they were having. And there was a point where outside of the hotel, a few hundred of Proud Boys, etc., Trump supporters, whatever, marched towards Antifa. Joe Biggs was definitely one of the leaders. You can see me live covering Alex Jones speaking, and then that happening, and then me during it interviewing Joe Biggs. Let's just say Joe Biggs did not come off the greatest. I'm just going to put that out there. I would also say I was next to him. A lot of people were drinking. It's also a drinking social club. I want to put that out there. So
yeah, Proud Boys, 100%. That's what they do. They get together, talk politics, and drink beer.
Yes,
that's essentially what it is. I've been to a meeting. I went to a meeting a long time ago.
So I think that
and you know what? The white people in that group were the minority.
I believe it.
I'm in the Bay Area. We had a lot of Filipino guys, some black guys, some Mexican people, a lot of mixed race people, and all the white guys who were there had non-white children or non-white wives.
Shocker. Hey, John, shocker in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. Shocker. Like, yeah. I'm so sick of it, dude. You know what I mean? I look at my own family, right? Like, it was my niece's birthday last week. She's 12 years old. The other one's 13. John, it's tough. I'm hearing them talk. They're talking about little boys. It's driving me nuts. But at the same time, man, like, they're little black girls. I can't imagine coming at something as a racist perspective. And I listen to this guy, Mike Jackson, and he's always like, only white people can be racist. Black people can't be racist. Nobody else can be racist. Just so everybody knows, the Asian culture, in many respects, are racist against one another. like
yes, no, yeah. The way the South Koreans look at Japanese, or the Japanese look at the Chinese, like, yeah, they're viciously racist. And I'll say this: the most racist person I've ever met was a black woman from Africa.
Really?
Yes, she had the most awful things to say about American black people.
Wow. Well, again, people have to understand, like, it's a big world. There's 8 billion of us, okay? There's more cultures than just ours. I know we're what we see every day, but it's just like that. And then my girlfriend is, mixed beyond imagine. She's Filipino, black. I think she's part Chinese. I mean, we don't think about these things. I don't think about them. So Mike Jackson comes out after Militich has taken these pictures, and he writes these articles that get picked up by like ESPN and Yahoo News, et cetera, et cetera. And Pat ends up losing his gig. So behind the scenes, he and Mike Jackson have been texting back and forth. And
he's a opportunistic backstabber. Really. What a slime ball. What an absolute piece of trash.
I can't, obviously Pat is not happy about this. And right now he's trying to get together a kickboxing match against Mike Jackson in light of Jake Shields bringing Mike Jackson into the realm of trending. Jackson says he's going to press charges against Jake, but you can't just keep calling somebody a Nazi. At some point, someone is going to end up using physical force against you. You can run your mouth so much. That was a large lesson I learned as a kid in school. I was funny.
Yes, it is. But at the same time, it is. It's 2022. And,
yeah.
I have my Learn to Fight show, and I talk about this all the time.
Always avoid.
You have to avoid. Like, people calling you names and stuff like that. Like, sue for libel or something, because it's I don't like it. I don't like this. I think you should be able to smack the crap out of somebody who says something like that about you. I'm fully for it, but I understand the law, and you just can't do it. Talk shit, get hit isn't a real thing anymore. You talk shit, you get hit, then you countersue, and that's what happens. Somebody presses charger. So it's I don't know. It's not cool, but that's just where we're at right now. We're supposed to be a civil society, and we're not allowed to. Government's the only one allowed to be violent towards anybody.
Here's what I was going to say about it. Even though that is the case, and I agree with you, that doesn't mean that somebody else is going to abide by it. So all I was trying to say is that, as a kid, I had a wise mouth.
You do have to respect the rule of cause and effect.
I mean, hey, man, I got the shit kicked out of me by much bigger and older kids from being the guy running my mouth by multiple at a time. It was almost acceptable at sometimes. And, you look back on it, it's a learning experience. But that learning experience is, you can push the line, but not everybody's going to go by the rules of society, right? And you have to be prepared for that. That's one of the reasons that you do teach self-defense and you do the learn to fight videos, is because sometimes you're just going to be in a situation where all of a sudden, okay, maybe you're not going to be able to get out of there. So now what do you do? But in every real case, you should try to get out of there. Anyway, despite that, this is still going on. Jackson says he is going to sue. We'll see what happens. Honestly, I'm rooting for Jake Shields on this one, but I also hope that, listen, they were texting while I was on the couch over the weekend watching the UFC back and forth. Militis seriously wants to kickbox this guy. We'll see what happens. That would be epic if indeed it did occur. All right.
It's it's a pathetic world we live in with these little snot-nosed goobers who can just run around and act like they can do whatever they want to do and call anybody whatever they go. You don't agree with me? Well, you're a racist. You're a Nazi. Like, well, whatever. He's a pedophile. He's a chomo.
I mean,
I'm going to call Mike Jackson a chomo. That's what he is. If he can call people names, we'll call him names back.
All I'm going to say is he said that the entire American culture is based on the back of white supremacy, et cetera, and oppression. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Really That's not real. Okay? Well, once again, you have a multitude.
Told a lie.
I can't stand it. Let me explain to people what happened. All right? Technology continually got better, but not to the point where you could have a predator class or an elite class withhold a large-scale amount of that from the people. In other words, if they wanted to protect themselves, they had to utilize the weapons of the day. Now, it was easier to get those weapons and develop those weapons because everybody had those weapons. You can go back to medieval times and we could talk axes and bows and arrows. And we can move it all the way up to, say, I don't know, World War I-ish, before the bomb, and having those type of guns. So what happens is people at the top start oppressing those around them in all cultures. And other people
within cultures, you think, the whole idea, like, a lot of these people have this premise that slavery was only African American, it was only Africans.
No.
That there weren't Irish slaves, that there weren't European slaves. I could be wrong, correct me, but I believe the whole the word slave is from Slav, which was the Slavics, which is the Polish, who were some of the first original slaves we knew about.
Yeah, and let's not forget
Chinese, Japanese. They all had slaves. Everybody, that's a human characteristic. I'm a big believer that today we still have slavery, like debt. Being put into debt and owing a bunch of money where you're forced to work, otherwise you face hardships and other crap. Like, that's a form of slavery to me. They got you.
Well, let me say this. Even when slavery was largely abolished in the vast majority, not only in our country, but the Western world, at that moment, after you had, these conflicts or whatnot, you still had indentured servitude, which was kind of an eased form of that. And
there were some native tribes who had slaves, and they had their own land. And when slavery was ended, after the Civil War, they refused to give up their slaves. So you had Native Americans who continued to practice slavery with African slaves well after the slavery had ended, and they had to fight that out.
That's white supremacy.
Civil War, I think the largest slave owner in South Carolina was a black man.
Again, people are going to be opportunists. They are largely going to adapt to the culture around them. But when there's a level playing field on technology, especially when you're talking about weapons system, revolt is a real thing. And I really do believe that that's why we're actually not built on something like that. And we're built on the imperfectly perfect document of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights, of the way to change some of the things they got wrong right there, but to limit the power of the government along the way and constantly audit them. It was brilliant. And anybody who wants to say otherwise, you can really kiss my Dinkelschnaut. Like, it's ridiculous. Because what it did was, it said, you know what? We're in the 1700s. We're fighting against the greatest empire the world's ever known. They got their guys everywhere. They're embedded in our aristocracy. We've already got secret society networks that have kind of been born out of the Germanic secret societies, such as, yes, folks, the Illuminati. So in other words, they had their round table groups. They were in the universities. That's why Skull and Bones and Scroll and Key and Book and Snake and all these things were born, so they could have their little plants across the waters. And they said, all right, we just won. Let's limit everybody's power, no kings, and let's make sure we can change this. Because obviously, culturally, what can we do right now? And that's what they did. And it took a long time, and it still is a mark on all of humanity. Like John said, it's not just us, okay? It's everywhere that you thought you could own human beings. But at the end of the day, John, like you just said, we're in a form of slavery right now where you've got an arrogant predator class and their mouthpiece at Davos basically saying, we're going to own human beings, and we're going to call it a social credit score, and we're going to call it stakeholder capitalism. That's where we're at.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's madness. It's crazy. It really is.
So with that being said, one of the bases of this is climate change or global warming or whatever they want to call it. And let me just read this for you. This is how much the climate's a changing, everybody. Just when the power costs more than ever, and the power is said to possibly go out in areas because it can't handle the grid, or there might be cyber attacks.
I'm sorry. I have to interject. The amount of nonsensical lies they're going to force down your throat nonstop. Go back to your shared screen here.
Yes.
The screen you're showing behind you with the top stories, the top one, Amy Schumer wows in plunging navy blue. Shut up. Come on. Who do you people think we are? What are you talking about? I'm like, what is this cow doing on this thing? I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. No, she's a star. Yeah, Amy Schumer. So Schumer used to actually, back when I was living in New York in Oneonta, she is the niece of Chuck Schumer, and they're out in upstate New York. So every once in a while, she would come through town and she'd get coffee at the coffee shop. There'd be Amy Schumer sightings, and all of a sudden on social media, there'd be pictures popping up with her with people grabbing photos. And it's just like, listen, man, no offense, and I'm not trying to shit on her. I know how hard it is to make it in Hollywood, etc. I know how hard it is to be funny. I'm not a comedian by any means. I think I'm hilarious, but that's besides the point. I don't think she's that funny. I've never been like, I need to see something Amy Schumer did.
Funny. The only thing funny that she's done is have people say that she looks stunning, and she looks like the blueberry girl from Willy Wonka.
Blueberry girl. Oh, back to the story. U.S. could face coldest Christmas in years as temperatures drop much below normal and Arctic air mass blitzes southern states. Freezing onslaught will bring major snowstorms and holiday travel chaos for millions. Bum, bum, bum. Glad I'm not flying. I'm taking off Wednesday evening for the East Coast for my Christmas. Spend a Christmas with my girls tomorrow, my nieces. Look, you can't have it every which way but Sunday. You can't tell me the greatest warming crisis in the world is out there. No. And then all of a sudden we're going to have the coldest winter and Christmas of
it's the same garbage with the summer heat. Oh my God, it's amazing. It was something a picture of Europe, right? And it had like a 10-year split where the temperatures were 10 degrees warmer back in 2000 or whenever the hell. And the background was blue, and then they showed today's, and the temperatures are cooler, but everything's red, like it's on fire. Like,
perception is reality, according to Karl Rove and others like that. I don't know what else to say.
well, there's a lot of, I mean, there's like 50% of the planet's like below 100 IQ. There's a lot of really dumb people out there. That's what you really have to understand and process. Most people aren't caring and paying attention to the stuff like we are. They're just watching sports ball. They just want to talk about the footy balls that just happened.
Oh man, you know how much of that I watched? Zero.
Like none. I've never watched any of it. It's not appealing. It's just like fighting nowadays is the only sport I ever watch.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and it's pretty much done. There's not a lot on. There wasn't a lot on this weekend, especially. We're spoiled now. You know what I mean? Like I've got,
I talk about that all the time because we used to only get like six events a year.
That was the 40,
and then you only got like 5 fights on the main card to watch those 6 fights 6 times a year.
Yeah, that was the 42nd UFC event. There were plenty of Bellator, One, Risen. I watched BKFC probably put on 20 events this year. Yep. There was a lot, and that's not even the sideshow boxing with Anderson Silva and Jake Paul. Yep. There was.
Did you ever watch the Creators Clash YouTube boxing event?
No, I didn't watch that one.
I didn't watch that. It was a bunch of YouTube creators put a show together, and they all fought each other. I heard about it. Somebody asked me to do a breakdown of it, but I never had it around to watch it. It's a long event.
Yeah, a lot of them are long events. Like, but that's the thing. Like, now I've got the 2 TVs going, so I've got basically. So we even did the Manny Pacquiao. Didn't he pieced him up? He was not feeling that like that was an exhibition. That Dong Yu Kim or whatever. He really did beat him up pretty badly.
He's only got 1 speed.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, you got to watch it, but he is pretty merciless on the guy. Maybe in the first 2 rounds, he took it a bit easy on him, but it was 6-rounder, and he really tore him up towards the end. There were points where they didn't want him to, like, knock him out, so they were, like, shaving. They might even been 2-minute rounds, 6 2-minute rounds. They were like shaving off a minute plus after he would get knocked around or knocked down. They'd make him get up and act like it wasn't a 10 count, like he didn't want to stop, and like hold him there and let the clock continue. It was brutal. It was pretty brutal. What do you think about since we're talking a little MMA and this is mixed martial mindset? What do you think about Glover and Jamal Hill? I think it's kind of the right thing to do with that bizarre decision from a week ago. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody loves Glover. Everybody wants to watch Glover fight, and Jamal Hill has been performing really well. He's exciting. It'll be fun to mix things up in that weight class, and it's a good matchup because where Glover, I think, has more technical skill than Hill. Hill is an athlete. He's a super athlete, and you can cut a lot of corners sometimes when you're a super athlete. On top of that, Glover's old. You know, he's up there. Once you hit above that 40, things start changing a little bit, and that skill gap gets a little smaller.
I mean, I can't wait for it. I don't know what you thought about the Jan ankle up fight, but I thought, look, Jan definitely won the first 2 rounds in my opinion. And then you could talk about the next 3. I didn't think a draw was out of the realm. I thought one of the cards was obviously ridiculous. What was your feeling? Did you think Ankalaev did enough?
It felt like they were both coasting. That's what it felt like to me watching the fight. Especially Ankalaev. He a lot of times comes out there kind of like just a monster. Just I'm beating the crap out of you and I'm putting tons of pressure on you. And I didn't see that from him at all. It didn't look like he was trying to force any wrestling or clinch stuff early. And then Jan, he was landing effective those kicks. Like he was messing him up with the kicks. But then out of nowhere, he just stopped.
Yeah, by the second round, it looked like he could barely walk.
It looked like the fight was close to being over because of those kicks. And then he stopped. And I'm like, what's going on here? What is going on with this fight?
It
I don't
was a
know.
weird one. I'm not gonna lie.
Some people were saying, I had people in my chat who were telling me that Ankalab's corner and coaches and stuff are the fault of that fight because they've been trying to make him be more reserved and fight safer than normal. And if that's true, then that sucks.
Well, I have to agree with you. It looked like Jan was on the verge of winning that fight by the second round. He was hopping around on one foot.
Check when you think guy keeps changing their stance and it's bothering them that much that there's a physical change in how they're fighting. Like it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll tell you this, all you guys, amateur fighters, whatever out there, future fighters, if you land a technique and it hurts the guy and he doesn't stop it, keep doing it. Just keep doing that one thing. Keep doing that one thing until the fight's over.
It makes sense, especially when you're in a fight for a basically show and win. A show and win. Like this is half of your paycheck. Mm-hmm. It actually it matters more than just your record and your career. It matters to your bank account at that very moment.
Did he only hold the belt once? Is he not on the pay-per-view points yet?
Who held the belt?
Jan, didn't he hold the 25-pound belt?
He did hold the belt, but that was long. That's what, 2 fighters ago now. He lost to Glover, and Glover lost to Jiri, and then because of that,
so he never defended the belt.
Who
Jan?
did?
Jan defend the belt?
He might have had one win as champion.
He defended against Izzy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he had defended against Izzy.
So he should be grandfathered into his pay-per-view points
by just defending the belt once.
Once you get to pay-per-view level, you're in. To my knowledge.
Interesting.
But that's usually how it goes: is you have to win and then you have to defend, and once you defend, you start getting your points.
Yeah, but what happens if you lose that belt?
You're still on that contract because it's a new promotional agreement.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, again, I thought I was kind of disappointed that Jan just said that he should have won the fight. I feel like now they're just going to set it up for Ankalaev to face the winner, unless they can stretch it out to where Jiri is ready to fight again. But I don't think that's going to happen. It looks like his injury is actually going to be like a year. They're going to want somebody at least in 6 months after this January fight. So you're talking about summer. I'm looking forward to Bellator as pretty much the wrap up on New Year's Eve. Are you taking your lady out? I'm not sure what I'm doing for New Year's. I'd just like to stay in.
Yeah, I don't. I've always said that New Year's is amateur hour. It is. It's like, like the in my youth, what most people's New Year's is what my Tuesday is.
Well, I know you worked in bars as a bouncer, and I worked in bars, and what John's referring to, it's the night where people that can barely drink come on out and act like an idiot and don't know what they're doing. And you got so many people puking and peeing,
falling over, getting in dumb fights, getting arrested, like amateur hour.
No, bro, she's mine. She's mine, Chief. Anyway, all right, let's move it on. Time's up. Chief Twit, Elon Musk is ordered to step down as head of Twitter by 57.5% of his own vote with 17 million people in 12 hours. Now, to me, this is another publicity stunt. I don't think that, again...
I believe it goes deeper than a publicity stunt. You know what he's doing here? He's outing bots.
I saw that conspiracy theory.
So because you're hanging out this juicy carrot for all these guys who've had these programmed accounts who want to sway opinions and sway public opinion. Mm-hmm. So if he puts out this juicy carrot, they're going to jump all over it. It's a honey trap.
Well, we'll see.
Honey pot.
We'll see. I have a different theory. Although they might utilize scraping the metadata on that to see who may or may not be a bot account. I think it's more along the lines that this has all kind of already been a circus, number one, right? A redirection, and he's had fun with it. He's gotten a massive amount of publicity. He doesn't really want to run Twitter, at all. He wants his playground. He's probably already talked to several people behind the scenes on who's actually going to run it. I know they're hyping up Lex Friedman. Everybody's jumping in on Twitter going, I want to be the head.
Well, could also be that he's uncovered just how deep the rabbit hole goes with social media companies and their conspiracy or their open willingness to work for the government.
He works for the government, John. Listen,
well, that's what I'm saying too. Maybe that's one of those things. It's like, okay, well, I've stirred enough shit up. I need to step away from this.
Again, I think this has been a big PR stunt.
And the government compartmentalizes things also. So they're working with him separately than when they're working with these other people. And he probably doesn't even understand how much they're working with those people. And he's probably like, oh shit. Like,
did you see the clip of the Tuckins calling him out for that same thread that we read down the line? Remember 2 weeks ago when we did the show and we had all those people that were in Twitter that were ex-FBI, NSA, CIA, etc. So yeah. Tucker read the same goddamn thing on air. And he asked them for comment, and there was none given as to why they were still working there and what they were doing there. And he basically said, you wouldn't hire opera singers to work at a social media company. So why are you hiring all these spooks?
Feds, yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand. So right there, you've already got the infrastructure pretty much staying the same at the upper echelons, right? Number one. Number two, it's still freedom of reach over freedom of speech. He stirred up the pot enough with quick bans of the left so they get to have their narrative. Whether or not it was doxing, et cetera, a taste of their own medicine. I get it. I get it. Don't get me wrong. But that's like the trolling aspect. That's the conservative hero. You see who he was hanging out with yesterday?
Yeah, I saw some of the
the memes people made?
Well, I saw a picture of him standing with some Saudi princes or something.
Oh, no. Who cares about the Saudi princes? Do you know who he was there with? Behind him. Behind the Saudi princes. Let's see if it's right here. Yeah, there it is. Come on, dude. Little Lucifer Satan himself. The dude. The Kush.
Oh, yeah. Kushner.
Kushner. He's sitting there with the Kushner, man. Like, this
Such a worm.
This is a Bilderberg attendee. This is Mr. My generation might be the first to live forever. This is a guy that is the real deal. Kushner's a player, man. You know what people don't understand about him being a player too? Let's bring it back a little bit. Pre-Trump era. He worked with both Steve Bannon and Michael Moore at the same time on Sicko. He was an executive producer on that. They're like all together at the after party. It was distributed by Bannon's company. He was a producer, and it was Michael Moore's movie. It's a good one, but it's on socialized medicine, and pushing you into that narrative as well. So I'm sorry. Look, Ryan from T-Lab, he's back on Twitter. That's great. I'm very happy about that. But I think that this is a show where now he's got even more media attention. Who's now going to be the face of Twitter? I mean, let's be realistic. If this guy's not a front man, how in the fuckelschnuck is this guy running SpaceX that just launched more rockets into space? The Boring Company, which it's not just the flamethrower thing, guys. They're digging underground tunnels for government and private facilities, okay? It's a constant thing. He's the CEO of that. What else? He's the CEO of Tesla, which isn't just a car company, but they're also the ones that made the machines for upscaling the mRNA and printing it, CureVac, okay? He's the CEO of Neuralink. And by the way, Tesla also has the Optimus bot. How are you running all of those companies? That's ridiculous, right?
I have like 3 social media accounts I can barely keep a hold of.
Bro, I'm so done after I get up at 5 a.m. and I make my thumbnail and I start doing my research and I put my stream up for 4 things.
What if
Yeah.
Elon has cyborgs? What if he has replicas of himself?
Oh.
What if they're robots?
The lawn bots.
What if the real Elon died years ago and he's just been uploaded to some database thing somewhere and we see these meat robots,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones. You want to go real deep?
The problem with that is, John, that there are actually people. We're just sitting here giggling a little bit, and actually that's great.
People think that it's possible. That's where we're gonna head.
Well, I mean, eventually, maybe it is possible down the line, but there are people that constantly, when I go speak at these things, or I even talk to them in person behind the scenes, they're telling me that Joe Biden isn't Joe Biden, it's an actor, that they have clones. That Elon Musk is a clone. I've seen that. That Kushner is a clone. That's not how it works. I'm sorry, guys. We're having some fun here. We're not there technologically yet. All right? We're not at Westworld level yet.
No.
We
are at robot dogs, though. We are at armed robot dogs.
Armed robot dogs.
And San Francisco asking permission to start using robots to kill people.
No, you're absolutely right. So, but let's speak to that a little bit, the trolling aspect of it, because when we joke about that, there is this aspect of people that are really taking themselves seriously, that have a larger audience than I do, guys. You know, listen, God bless Red Voice Media. Thank you so much for putting me on. I've been around a long time. Like we're pushing almost 2 decades. I've been doing this. Like, well, we're going to be at 2 decades, hopefully, like that. By 2025, I've been doing this for 2 decades. I have nowhere near the audience of I'm not even going to say any names because some of them are absurd, but of people that are promoting clones and
flat Earth.
That's another.
We've never been to the moon.
Well, the moon thing. Hey, listen. Again,
the older I get, the further we get away from that.
I mean, again, this is published in 1960. What is this? This is the real deal. This is Associated Press. Footprints on the Moon. What is this? 69. This is printed like right after. This is golden right here. There are a lot of questions just reading this. I just want to put that out there, guys. There are a lot of questions. You know, they just supposedly came back from the moon last week, but yet SpaceX. Actually, there's a UFO sighting that I want people to understand is just the beginning of what we're going to see as new, not only space weaponry, but different types of hypersonic and different propulsion systems via weapons are now going to be used. That's what's coming in this Ukraine-Russia conflict, everybody. Just getting people prepared. So anyway, we talk about that, and I had to mention this. Tom Green trolling social media. I have to say I loved his show back in the day, truly pioneering, and I did love Tom Green back in the day. And what do I mean by this? He's out there going, have to say it. But from what I've been reading, the evidence is starting to stack up that I am beginning to suspect the planet Earth may indeed be flat. Hashtag flat Earth. And of course, that wasn't the only thing he said. He had a long chain of unhinged behavior. You know, he believes that Trump was a Putin puppet, that Russia propaganda, hacked the election in 2016.
And this is the thing I'm learning too, though. The internet's fake. Everything on the internet's fake. There's a large percentage chance that a lot of these people who are pushing these things don't believe them at all. They do not care. They don't care about Trump or Russian collusion or whether the Earth's flat or round or what. They found a niche to exploit to make money, and that's it.
Well, again,
there are guys. Okay, so there are guys in like the red pill space. Okay, that do like MGTOW and black pill stuff, and that's like, oh, ooh, girls are gross, we're gonna stay away from them, or oh, it's pointless, everything's pointless, just give up, right? And the creators themselves, they don't believe that. They don't go along with it. They don't believe it. They have girlfriends or wives or families and all this other stuff going on in their life, but they know that there are losers out there who do believe it. And if they just keep feeding them the stuff they want to hear, they keep getting views, they keep getting likes, they keep getting people buying their shit. So they do it.
Well, you're never going to be at a loss for grifters and liars. I mean, look at the Liver King, right? Like, it was pretty obvious from the get-go. I mean, John, you're a pretty jacked dude, okay? Especially you. And I say that because the Liver King, I believe, was supposed to be 48, in his late 40s. I believe you're right around my age, 43, 44, right?
44. I'll be 45 in February.
Okay. So you're like mid 40s. You've bulked up a lot, but you're not bulk and shredded eating raw liver and nothing else. And to get to that level, you know, it's not just even
Well,
supplements.
I mean, he was on an obscene amount of different stuff. That guy Derek from More Plates, More Dates, he did a breakdown of like the leaked like protocols that he was taking, and it was like long list. He spent a lot of money every month on gear.
It was something like $12,000 a month.
It's crazy.
Think about that. You're spending well over six figures, closer to 6.5 figures a year to look like that. And so I guess you've got to grift your face off if you want to have that.
You got to pay for that. Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
because you don't need it. Yeah, you can get by just fine and look great and feel great if you're in your 40s, mid 40s or above, and you've gone through menopause. Like you can get $50 to $75 a month. You can get a bottle test.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no real.
Need to, like, go that crazy.
I don't disagree with you, my friend. So
eat right, exercise, and a little bit of extra sauce, and you're doing good.
Little bit of extra sauce. I love it. So check it out. Exclusive. Close encounters of the first kind. Multiple witnesses share extraordinary videos of possible UFO sighting in rural Wisconsin, where strange bright white lights were seen zipping across the night skies. I'm just going to let everybody know what this is. This is the military running drills of new types of weapons and propulsion systems. Yep. That's what that is. Okay, let's play it because it's on multiple cameras. Kind of see it right here in the background. That one's a quick one. Up there they go right in there and around. That's not UFOs, guys. Just so everybody.
And what probability? Honestly, to me, that looks like a spotlight on the clouds.
That one could be. Let's see where we're going from there.
Like I've seen that. I've seen stuff like that before. Because like sometimes the depth goes more or less.
Now we've got this one over here. That one again, kind of tough to see what it is.
Yeah, and that really pronounced white dot. That's not.
That's the one to me that screams military operation. Coming up right here.
And what are the chances too that it could be a military operation? Yes. What if it's not new technology? What if they're just putting up lasers and lights and shit to confuse people? What if they're trying to scare people? What if they're trying to create some stir so people are talking about something else other than whatever crap they're doing? They love to do that. They love to steer up some other story while they do dirty shit behind everybody's back.
You mean like, I don't know, possibly killing JFK?
Yep.
So I'm sure that you're aware. This is actually a CIA memo that has heavy redactions right here. Michael Tracy posted via Oswald and the CIA.
They did it. And you know who was in charge? Wasn't it Bush Sr.?
It sure seems like it might be.
Doesn't that connect a lot of dots to people with all of this messed up stuff that's happened for a while? That Bush was ahead of something that probably killed a U.S. president, and then like 9/11 and the wars in Iraq. You think like any of this could be connected, or it's all coincidence?
Again, you would think that, but now we're in this weird place where they punted the football, but you had the most popular news program in the country come out and specifically say that someone that has read the documents, has reviewed them, has now confirmed the CIA helped kill Kennedy. Okay? They put out the quotes, everything. Did you hear who my theory is on who gave Tucker the information?
No, I haven't heard that.
So it just so happens that when I had Roger Stone on, I asked Roger Stone, one of the things that Trump failed on was that he twice did not give us the JFK documents that we were promised. Mm-hmm. Roger Stone, it was a little longer than that, but Roger Stone replied that he actually confronted the president on it. And he said he indeed did see the documents and that he said it was just too horrible and that one day it would come out. So you got to wonder if it was Trump himself, because Tucker and Trump have this weird back 20-year plus relationship, that he's the one that leaked it, that he believes the CIA was involved in killing Kennedy.
I mean, again, what a failure from Trump, too.
Yeah.
You know, what an absolute failure. Again, another huge failure from him as being person in office. Why wouldn't he have come forward with that? Why wouldn't he have, you know, he could have pointed fingers and been like, look, these are the slime balls who are telling you this stuff. They're the ones responsible. Name names.
Well, let me say this also. Another thing that points to Trump as being the leaker is that
maybe that's why they raided his Mar-a-Lago place. Maybe they found out that he had those documents and that he was talking about giving it over to the press. You think that could have been correlated too?
The press wouldn't even touch it, though. That's the problem. You look at this now, the only one that would touch it is somebody like Tucker. Like, no press is talking about this, but at the same time, Tucker framed it that it was Mike Pompeo that put him under immense pressure not to release them. And that he invited Pompeo on twice. He invited Pompeo on Thursday and on Friday. And I think he's going to say something about him tonight again. So in that case, that spices it up a little, right? That kind of shows the inner struggle. That Trump is like, I wanted to do it. Mike kept coming to me. He said, you can't do it, Donnie. It's too bad. I looked at the documents. They were terrible. They were awful. Who knows? Again, I'm not even saying it was Trump as the leaker. It could very well be just somebody on the review board year after year after year that's just sick of it. Absolutely. But I don't put that out of the realm of possibility in the cartoon show we currently live in.
Yep. It was QAnon, man.
It was QAnon.
Come on, look it up.
Dude, JFK Jr., bro. So
he's coming back.
There are a few things that I enjoy more than watching Piers Morgan get handily dressed down.
It's fun. He's such a pompous little twit. You know, he's just such a twit.
So we've kind of had this conversation about the royal family and Harry in particular, and the fact that I am a little bit more sympathetic to Harry leaving the royals. And I know everybody says they're whiners and whatever, but to me, it's like they murdered his mother. They put him on parade. He was so effed up by that terrible family where his uncle, Lord Mountbatten, everybody, just so everybody knows, his uncle, his great uncle, Charles's favorite uncle, by the way, his dad's favorite uncle, was labeled by the FBI as a homosexual with a perversion for young boys. Just want to throw that out there, normal family. Anyway, I haven't watched the show.
He was probably illegitimate.
There's a lot of evidence.
There's a lot of evidence around the fact that he's not
Charles's child.
Not Charles's child.
He certainly doesn't look like his brother. Let's just say that. Okay, so he certainly doesn't look like his brother. Let's just say that.
He doesn't look like the so-called father. He looks a lot like Diana's security guard.
I do know that too. Again, I'm not even going there, but what most people don't know is that Piers Morgan actually used to question Diana's death and then actually had a relationship with Meghan Markle, which she just eventually cut him off.
Yeah, Meghan Markle is just a horrible psychopath.
Again,
she's a psychopath.
I don't know her. If you're getting in the acting game, you're probably not starting on the best grounds.
Cold, dead eyes. She's up to something constantly. She's I think she's a hell of abuses towards that poor guy, and where he's going to end up committing suicide because of her.
Don't say things like that, because whether he does or not, he could sure look like he did. So
it's like she's the whitest chick I've ever seen. She's the whitest girl. She's had the whitest life. Seriously. But like, she's all about racist. No, people don't like you. You're a cunt.
Yeah, but at the same time,
you're a bad person.
I'll bet you anything that royal family is like that, because they're in like cousinry bloodlines. It's not just, it's not. Like,
I'm not. It's not an excuse for the royal family.
Well, I'm just saying, like Charles and Camilla, that was a big deal back in the day because it wasn't the right bloodline where Diane was. You know what I mean? Diana was. So anyway, let's play this clip. I actually absolutely love watching Piers Morgan get so upset that he walks off of stage like a child.
What has happened with Prince Harry in this situation? He walked behind his mother's coffin at a tender age in front of the globe. That is going to shape a young boy for the rest of his life. So I think that we need to all take a step back. And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this program, a number of times. And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, maybe not my
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This is
this.
absolutely diabolical behaviour. I'm sorry, but Piers spouts off on a regular basis, and we all have to sit there and listen. 6:30 to 7 o'clock yesterday was incredibly hard to watch.
I'm sorry. I love it because he's such a little child. He is such a little child. And the guy just brings up the slightest bit of empathy and the hypocrisy that, oh, when she was talking to you and she was a friend, oh, it was a totally different story. Because Piers is that guy. He's that grifter. He's the one that's going to go with the narrative that sells, that gets him the shows and the accolades.
100%.
Yes. And the party invites. He's terrible. So, if you didn't think...
Spineless blob.
If you didn't think there was enough going on with Space Force, okay, and basically the weaponization of Space Force director who oversees space combat planning brought sex toys to work and wore a mankini to his work Christmas party, but still has his job and a six-figure salary. Andrew Cox is the director of Space Force's Space Warfighting Analysis Center. Now listen. Let your freak flag fly. But come on.
Who cares? Honestly, I'm saying, like, I don't care. Oh, so he wore a man. I mean, what was it? Was it a normal day of work, or
No,
was it like
it
a
was the
special
party.
occasion
It was
or
a
whatever?
Christmas
It was
party.
like, oh, it's just Tuesday, and he wore it up, and we all had to act serious, and while we had a meeting with him.
But
or was it like, hey guys, we're doing this joke thing. Here's my joke. Whatever. I don't know. Office life. It's all weird. Anyways.
It is quite weird. So this is a little weirder. This is kind of the build up from that Space Force weird to California school board president who rubbed shoulders with Kamala Harris resigns after inviting students to his gay adult party where they were plied with drinks by half-naked men in elf hats and ogled by a dirty Santa. There he is. So, again, underage students.
Groomers.
What are these people doing? Yeah,
kids do not need to be exposed to sex.
Just a little weird. And then, to round out the predators among us and the justice system that is not there, pedophile pop star Gary Glitter will be freed from prison after serving only half of his already very light sentence of 16 years. When this is somebody who was accused of trying to rape 8-year-olds. So, yeah. So that guy...
Why are we... This is the benchmark to why society has failed. It is failing. The fact that we give such light sentences to people who harm children. You have sex with a child, death. You should die. Period.
I mean, I'm not a death penalty guy. At the very least, you should never be let out of jail. Honestly, these people, in my opinion,
I'm pro death penalty because why should we have to pay taxes to support a piece of shit like that?
For me, it's just tough because there are some people that do get framed up. It's very rare. I'm not saying that's happening with Gary Glitter. No. You take that kind of action and it is forever. You don't take back capital punishment. And on top of it, you know, you can sit there and argue that death is more of a deterrent, but if you know you're going to be in a situation where you're...
I'm not even caring about it. I don't care as it being a deterrent. It's an elimination of a predator, an evil predator. It just needs to go away.
Well, I would also say that they're also gone away if you do it right with, institutionalizing them. And you should really get 40 to 80 hours a week out of them in a job, and no, they don't get paid. Okay, sorry, you raped a child. That's like, sorry. And you make it worse than death, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. You know, you put them in a system where they're never going to see the light of day, where it's a mandatory sentence, and you're just doing like hard labor, period. And it's that's just me. That's just me. Fitch, we're coming to an end. Why don't you let people know where they can find everything John Fitch?
Yeah, go to johnfitch.net. Find it all. I got my podcast on Sunday nights, 7 o'clock on the left coast. We talk a lot about fights and other stuff also. Sometimes I have guests. I'm working on my practical self-defense course right now, who I hope to have it done soon in the next couple of weeks. The intro to practical self-defense course is free and available on Gumroad now. Right. So you guys can check that out and get yourself prepped and loaded and ready for the normal course or the regular course, regular practical self-defense. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on. I got robot dog t-shirts on my spread shop now. I got seminars, private lessons, teaching classes here in San Jose, Tuesday, Thursday nights, and I travel for seminars. So reach out. I'm available. I teach violence.
Folks, I am doing it live, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. We will be back in the morning. I'm actually going to be posting this one late tonight, but we'll be back in the morning. What's Monday? Monday's the day after Christmas. We going Monday?
I can.
Okay.
I'll probably do a show Sunday night.
Yeah, a little Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Not Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Christmas
Day.
evening.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fitch, it's Mixed Martial Mindset. I'll see you next week. Merry Christmas, everybody. I should have worn the hat. I didn't realize it. This is the last show. Usually I like to wear the hat or the big Santa thing. It hasn't felt as festive yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there. All right, Fitch. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, check you later.